I can remember the water being just lifeless and grey and not being allowed to touch it or go anywhere near it. We haven't got a clue whether there's any E. coli or hepatitis B flowing past our feet, and I certainly won't let my children play in here. The Mersey Rivers Trust, I find it fascinating. The Mersey catchment is huge, and in North Manchester we're concentrating on the Irwell and Irk. So the Irk's a brilliant project because it's only 15 miles long, and it encapsulates all of the issues that Greater Manchester's rivers suffer from. There's a little bit of agricultural pollution at the top, there's a little bit of pollution from golf courses, there's a lot of pollution from sewage, there's a lot of pollution from just activities of daily living, cars and people using herbicides, pesticides, sticking the wrong thing down the drain. Back in the sort of late 60s, early 1970s, there was no such thing as wastewater treatment works on the River Irk. Everything was floating past that you can imagine. And it was pretty grim. So in the year 2000, so 2005, they went from virtually a non-existent wastewater treatment works to one that actually started taking out a lot of the chemicals and the ammonia from sewage. And then the most recent step change is, again, been the massive upgrade on the wastewater treatment works at Cheddar-ston. So that's made all the difference. So insects have come back, fish have come back. The whole biology chain that's associated with the river has just massively expanded. One of the really important things we do at the Rivers Trust that helps us determine river health and helps us to evaluate the success of our projects as well is to sample the rivers for the invertebrates that live in the riverbed. So here in the River Irk today, just doing what's called a kick sample. And a kick sample is a standard measure that we use to determine the health of the river. So with what we're using, we're disturbing the riverbed and the water crow's foot here with my feet, dislodging the insects that live in the riverbed, the invertebrates. We catch them in this net, and from the insects that we collect, we can figure out how clean or how polluted the waterway is. We look for 8 different key indicator species that we count, so we're looking for the diversity of those insects, and also the numbers of them that we catch, and we can score any river in the UK. The River Irk used to score 3 out of 32, which was terrible. And recently, with a little bit of improvement in wastewater treatment works and wastewater processes, the score's slowly creeping up, and a couple of years ago we managed to get a score of 14 on the River Irk. Well, sadly, there was a pollution incident last year in 2022 in Oldham, and there was a lot of fire retardant foam came into the river. There's nothing that anybody could do about it, and that's knocked the scores back down to single figures again. But there's hope. Mostly here we're getting large numbers of freshwater shrimp, and most of them live in this ranunculus which we've planted here. Put ranunculus in has meant that there's a large increase in the numbers, the volume of invertebrates that live in the river. And this provides a home for fish, a home for insects. It's a larder for wildlife. Nice to give nature a home, isn't it? So whilst we can turn around and say there's some great things happening on the Irk, obviously there's always the negatives as well. So the River Irk flows into the River Irwell, actually underneath the Metrolink station of Victoria Station in Manchester. There's a whole series of high, impassable barriers for fish wanting to migrate upstream to look for the optimum place to spawn. And this river where we're standing in now was described as one of the top 10 trout streams in the UK. Can you believe it? The River Irk, the top 10 trout streams. I mean, it could become that again. But the biggest issue at the moment would be, whilst we've got an improved wastewater treatment works, we've still got a large number of combined sewage overflows on the Irk. So periodically when it rains, rainwater and sewage overflow out of the sewage network. If we can reduce those or eliminate them totally by going onto a split system and rather than combined, then you turn around and say, well, actually, what chemicals are running through our rivers? The only chemicals that are running through our rivers are the ones that are running off the land. Then the habitat, the water quality and people's general enjoyment of the River Irk will be massively improved. So I'd be happy then for my children to play in the river. The river's becoming more and more significant to the local population now. If you look around and you listen, there's otters, there's deer, we've got kingfishers, dippers, we've got wild brown trout, we've got sticklebacks and minnows. And it's a place where people can come and enjoy themselves and wind down from city living, sit and listen without having a stench. Yeah, just to come and sit near some water and just listen to the water tumbling over rocks, and it's very soothing and calming. So it's a brilliant it's a brilliant asset to the community now, the River Irk. If we're going to ask for local community involvement on the River Irk, there's two ways that you could help. Join the Mersey Rivers Trust as a volunteer and help us with our kick sampling. Help us to plant ranunculus and star wort. But most importantly, keep pressure up on your local politicians to continue to spend energy on the River Irk. Once we can move from a combined sewage network to a more modern split system, then the Irk's just going to be transformed. As more and more projects take place, water quality improves. As we move from the old-fashioned combined sewage network, the improvements in water quality will be tremendous, and the wildlife will improve. And that's a wonderful thing for future generations, that they can enjoy something that we didn't have when we were children, and really enjoy the wildlife around us, the water, the deer, the birds, the fish, the insects. It's really great to have a really thriving ecosystem developing here.